that because Donald Trump has disrespected our Prime Minister, disrespected Keir Starmer, you don't have to disrespect Keir Starmer, you can leave it to him. But because Donald Trump has apparently, allegedly disrespected our dear leader, and by extension this country, that the King should cancel his state visit to America. I believe it's in April, where he's going to take part in the celebrations to mark us losing the War of Independence and losing the colonies of America. In itself, quite a funny thing for him to be doing. I think my thoughts on this is, look, the Prime Minister has wrecked the special relationship. Let's send the King over and see if he can repair this very important special relationship. So I think cancelling it would make things even worse. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And this just epitomizes how petty the left is, that they are more prepared and more concerned about having a temper tantrum and as a result, fracturing even further our most important relationship. We have to understand that, of course. And this is one of those moments when we should be so happy and glad that we do have a monarchy, somebody who rises above politics, because there's a reason that we are the #2 soft power in the world. A lot of that is embedded in the fact that we have a monarchy, and we have in President Trump someone who genuinely respects and admires, dare I say even reveres, our royal family. Great respect for King Charles, but also he regards the Prince and Princess of Wales as royal rock stars, and we know he's very excited about their trip to America in June, in time for the World Cup. So it's hugely important for the King to go in April, and I think it's quite worrying actually that there is conversation now, not only from the loony left and people like Ed Davey, a man you can normally always ignore whatever he says, but actually there are insiders also saying that this isn't the right time because of the Iranian conflict. Should you be having great pomp and pageantry when all this stuff is happening in Iran? I say yes, absolutely. We need someone to pour oil on the stormy waters of the Atlantic, and there's no one better placed to do that than King Charles.
Yeah, and look at this, of course, this call to call off the state visit. And by the way, you can't just cancel a state visit. It is a matter of international diplomacy. These things are prepared for years. The naivety of going, "I'll call it off because we don't like Trump." It's just pathetic, really. It's juvenile. But one of these Labour backbenchers, the lefties, of course, who were calling for the cancellation of the state visit of King Charles, said, he said that, look, we need to look at what the value of this visit is. It is clearly a changed geopolitical situation. Then he goes on to say, the UK wants de-escalation in the Middle East, and the Prime Minister has been clear that international law must not be broken. Stop going on about international law, for God's sake. People are firing missiles at each other, dropping bombs on each other. People are dying, and our body politic here in Britain, the Labour lot and the Prime Minister and the ludicrous Attorney General, Richard Hermer, they're all talking about the law, whether or not it's legal, whether or not a law has been broken. You know, imagine going up to somebody mortally wounded by one of these missiles and saying the good news is that missile did not break international law. It is pathetic. And to call for de-escalation, what is the point of that? You know, this is Britain's stance. We're called for de-escalation. What is the point? It is erupting over there. Our stance is purely performative, theatrical, and frankly derisive.
Well, it just really reveals that the degree to which we are led by political pygmies in this country and have been for years. These are moments that really call for statesmanship. And Trump was quite right to say Keir Starmer is no Winston Churchill. Churchill wouldn't have been poring through his legal text to make sure that every T was crossed and I was dotted. This is a moment when you have to make decisive decisions, which are, of course, not only in the national interest, but are also the morally right thing to do. This was a regime that slaughtered up to 50,000 of its own citizens just a few weeks ago. Other powers understood this. Even Starmer's centre-left buddies in Canada and Australia understood this from the outset, and they supported Trump from day one, whereas we were oohing and ahhing about whether we should use our bases, not to actually have RAF planes take part, just to give them access to our landing strip. I mean, for a country that was one of the great powers not that long ago, one of the big three at the end of World War II. What a sorry state, as you said in your last interview about the state of our Royal Navy too. I think this is the lowest point for Britain on the international stage in any of our lifetimes, probably in the last 200 years, actually. So whittled down is our international standing and our military forces. But it has to be said also, you know, the King has not yet officially had any dates set for this trip to America either. I've never known a state visit where actually we are so close to April, to the attempted date of this visit at the end of April. Still, we don't know anything about the event, when it will happen, where it will take place. We're told maybe in Washington and New York, but we don't have any details about that. It's quite remarkable. You know, the late Queen Elizabeth II, she went to America for the bicentennial year, 1976. It's imperative that we have the King there again for the 250th anniversary, because it's our most important ally, because we were involved somewhat in the events of 1776. I think that's very important. In advance of July, we have to be there also in the lead up. They're talking about delaying it till the end of the year.
No.
Well, the party will be over that by that point. The point is to go now when anticipation is building for July the 4th.
And also, Rafe, the King can really do some valuable work here, because old Donald is very swayable. He's very flexible when it comes to the royals. If the royals smile at him, he will do anything for them. So the King can go over and repair the absolute mess that the Prime Minister has made of the special relationship. So he's got to go, and the idea that he shouldn't, that we should call it off, is ridiculous. And I'll tell you another thing that I find personally insulting. You know, as far as I'm concerned, they go, the Prime Minister or the President of the United States has been disrespectful about our Prime Minister, therefore the King shouldn't go on this state visit. As far as I'm concerned, he can be disrespectful as much as he damn well like, because this Prime Minister deserves disrespect. He warrants no respect. His behaviour through this escalating conflict that he is pretending we're not involved in, or that he can keep us out of, has been a national humiliation and a national disgrace.
And of course, let's remember, no one has been more disrespectful to the great British public than our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, a man who has prioritised far-left ideology and open borders over the interests of the British people, a man who, of course, has called the decent folk of this country far-right thugs because they dared to take to the streets and protest about the massacre of young girls, a man who is willingly giving away the Chagos Islands, who was appointed as his Attorney General, a man who consulted with the Caribbean nations over paying trillions of pounds of reparations for slavery from British taxpayers. This is a Prime Minister who has no respect for the British people, so it's a bit rich for his acolytes and his the numpties around him to talk about disrespect in this context.
Let's talk to Kambiz Iranian political activist. Welcome, Kambiz.
Hi, thanks for having me, Ken.
Thank you. Do you happen to know how the new Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, the old one's son, has managed to become possibly Iran's richest man? He owns property in London worth more than $138 million. He's got 2 apartments that overlook the Israeli embassy, so that's slightly worrying. He has property all over the world. How did he get to be so rich?
Thanks for having me, as I said. I think first we need to understand that potentially he might be actually even dead, and a corpse is in charge in a way so that they can give some hope to their hardline supporters and stop any moves by other factions of the regime.
Is that what you think, Kambiz, because there are reports that he's been injured? You think he might have been killed, yeah?
Yes, because there's been no sightings of him, no videos of him, no photos since the announcements. I know there's security measures, obviously, because of the war, but you would expect at least some kind of announcement. So that's number one. Number two, I think it's not a surprise. He was the head of really pretty much IRGC, which controlled pretty much all of Iran's economic oil and kind of business interests. So in a way, they've been ripping off the country over the last 47 years.
So him and his father, Cambies, are a couple of crooks.
They are the biggest mafia in the world that have been basically pushing terrorism across the world, including the UK, having people get shot, get killed. So, and they've built up a vast fortune. They're saying something in the close of 100 billion. I know you mentioned 100 million. We're talking about 100 billion.
My God.
Is his fortune worldwide.
It's just astonishing, isn't it? We haven't got long, Cambies. You must come on and we'll talk longer another time. But in terms of this attack by Israel and America, that a lot of the liberals here in Britain and around the world, particularly in America, are criticising, why did you do this? You ruined the world. Do you buy into, my feeling about it is that both Netanyahu and Trump felt, or they had information that indicated that Iran might not be that long off having a nuclear bomb, a nuclear weapon, maybe even weeks. If that is true, Cambies, then surely both Israel and America were right to strike Iran.
Just as you know, a month ago, this regime killed 50,000 people of its own citizens, brutally, savagely. They've been doing it for 47 years. Of course, they were going to be close to building an atomic bomb, their ballistic missile policy. It's funny that we didn't hear of any of this left liberal thinkers when innocent Iranians were being killed. Mojtaba Khamenei, the person who's taken over, is actually the mastermind behind the IRGC forces, which have basically killed these thousands of people. So Iranians in Iran, I'm watching videos every day, are saying we fully support this move because it gives them a hope for freedom. They have been in prison for 47 years with an occupying force, which is not Iranian. Their only service is their sick ideological version of Islam. It's not even real Islam.
And there's 125,000 members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps who are a kind of cross between the Nazi SS Gestapo and the KGB. They'll be hard to knock out, won't they? And they will continue to impose a kind of reign of terror. There's reports that the television service in Iran is threatening rebels with killing their kids. So it might not be that easy to depose these people.
I don't think it will be easy, but I think definitely with the action that has happened, it will definitely make it easier for the Iranian people to go in the streets and have a more fair game. Also, don't forget, defections are growing by the day. We are hearing lots of big commanders are potentially changing sides and going behind the main opposition leader, which is the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. So I think there will be very interesting times over the next few days.
Oh, yeah.
And we definitely think that the opposition will have a chance to potentially take over the country.
Let's talk to a man who used to be a Met Police detective. He is, of course, Peter Blexley. Peter, this is strange, isn't it? You might have thought that the Met would have got the memo and that the number of police officers accused of sexual assault crimes or rape would have gone down since Sarah Everard. But no, it's rocketed. It's 3 times worse. What's going on?
Yes, you might do. First of all, let me just say, rest in peace, Sarah. It was appalling what happened to you. Yeah, but you see, the Metropolitan Police will have you believe that the reason more police officers are being investigated is because people feel more comfortable in coming forward to report these crimes. They won't for a moment contend with the fact that they've probably recruited a lot more wicked, evil, revolting sex offenders into their organisation. They won't contend that for a moment. And yet, in all reality, with the shocking lack of vetting, standards, discipline, supervision that goes on in the Met, this is exactly what's happened.
Yeah, there's still a massive recruitment problem, isn't there? I mean, when the horror of what happened to Sarah Everard unfolded before our shocked eyes, we learned then that the Met Police and other police forces around the country had an incredible policy of people just sending in applications to become coppers and being accepted into the force without ever being interviewed or spoken to. So to say that their recruitment policies were lax was the understatement of the century. They made all these pledges, oh, we're going to sort that out, you're quite right, we've been too easy. There were other sort of diversity elements to it, weren't there? That there were various police forces who said we don't have enough officers of colour. So shall we say people were being recruited for virtue signalling reasons, not whether or not they'd be good coppers. So we had all of these problems. You would have thought, though, that the message would have got through. This isn't good enough. We need to select police officers on one basis. Are they the right kind of people to do the job? Clearly that message hasn't penetrated.
Yeah, box-ticking recruitment has plagued the Met and other police services for years as they've lowered their standards in order to get people of whatever minority it might be into the police service. Instead of holding fast with an ethos that we recruit the right type of people. No. That's all been sacrificed on diversity, equality and inclusion criteria. And consequently, they're reaping the benefits of it. Or should I say, they're reaping the folly of their ways. Because much as people will stand up and shout and scream about it, people of colour who have been recruited into the police are disproportionately found to have committed either criminal offences or gross misconduct. And that's just a fact. Proportion-wise, they're far higher represented. So whatever way they're looking at it, whether the people they're getting in, the quality, the recruitment, the training, the standards, the supervision, and the shocking lack of discipline is all creating this situation whereby more and more police officers are getting arrested, charged and convicted for extremely serious crimes. And
you can only conclude, Pete, can't you, that the ethnic officers, you know, who disproportionately are found to have committed crimes, often sex crimes, a disproportionate number of them. You can only conclude that when it comes to recruiting officers of colour, ethnic officers, that standards are dropped deliberately in order to make the police force, wait for it, diverse and inclusive, right?
Yeah, and you're never going to get any police service in the land admit to that. But it's a very natural kind of conclusion to come to. But only yesterday, I spent 45 minutes in the company of a really fine, upstanding, fantastic police officer, an experienced officer with 10 years service, serving in the Met. And the picture that officer painted of that organisation was shocking. Morale non-existent. Supervisors only too happy to throw officers under the bus as opposed to covering their backs when they should do, i.e. when officers need supporting and not slaughtering. Lack of recruitment, a lack of retention, so many officers just wanting to leave the service, and he painted a very, very gloomy picture. But as we parted, and we'd had a very, very cordial time together, this officer turned around to me and said, well, of course, policing is a business. And I had to stop him there. And I said, if there's one thing you take from me from this conversation, it is that policing is not a business. It's got itself into the state that it's in because senior officers with their MBAs, Masters of Business Administration, have tried to run it like a business. Policing doesn't make anything. Policing doesn't sell anything. It is not a business. It is something unique. And yet successive generations of senior police officers have forgotten that. And that is why it is now the shambles, sadly, in so many regards, that it is.
What a weekend it's been on the royal front. Seems to be eventful on in all areas at the moment. But Meghan Markle's had a hell of a week. She is split from her benefactor, Netflix, and will take control of her as ever range of domestic products, that strange business, because she says that Netflix were too cautious about her plans to take As Ever international, to take it global. So selling jam and dried flowers and candles and wine for astronomically high prices. She wants to, having conquered America allegedly, she wants to conquer the world. And strangely, Netflix weren't that keen. I think my take on this, my interpretation is that Netflix has decided there's no money in this business whatsoever. Not only do we not want to go global, we don't want to particularly stay domestic with this. It's a waste of time. So she, of course, says, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's time for me to take control and we can all do it. I can do it on my own. And thank God we don't have cautious Netflix holding us back anymore. Magnificent. This isn't going to last much longer, is it, As Ever?
There are college courses where Netflix is studied as one of the most significant, recognizable brands globally. Globally, Netflix is a global brand. Like, compared to Coca-Cola, like how interesting that this is a company that people laughed at because we all assumed that Blockbuster Video would be there forever. And Netflix has become not just a streaming platform, but its own production company creating original content. If anyone knows the blueprint for creating a sustainable brand, it's Netflix. If anyone knows the blueprint for going global, it's Netflix. Netflix is one of the most powerful brands in the entire world. And they came out of nowhere. They had naysayers left and right. It is Netflix. The reason Meghan Markle has lost this opportunity is because Meghan Markle has been in control this entire time, and she's fumble after fumble after fumble. And Netflix has said, you're not fun to collaborate with. You don't know what the hell you're doing. What the heck are these wickless candles? Get out of here. You're not worth the trouble.
Yeah, and you know, going global, there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever, Kinsey, apart from Meghan's hyperbolic statements, that As Ever has been in any way any kind of success. The indications are it's been a disaster, but we don't know the true truth of that. But there was this amazing story at Christmas when she'd stocked up the warehouses ready for oodles of festive sales, that in fact the warehouses ended up with having 572,000 unsold items on the shelf. So the indications are that this business, unsurprisingly, is not a great success. Why would it be? Who the hell wants to spend $64 on a candle without a wick? Who wants to spend, you know, $30 on a bottle of wine that you can get in your local grocery store right away for about $7, and so on and so forth? So it's not surprising, in my view, that it hasn't worked. It seems to me that for Netflix, the final straw. And by the way, Netflix, in its own outlets, did put some As Ever products on display. None of them got sold.
Oh, really? I heard that they didn't put them, that they did not include them in Netflix House. And both venues did not include Meghan Markle's products, which should have been our first omen.
Well, either way, they weren't getting sold. And I suspect that when Meghan said, hey,
they're not selling. We know they're not selling at Godmother's. We know that they're not selling at Soho House.
Yeah, exactly. So they didn't sell at Godmother's, the store where they were on sale in Montecito, or at Soho House around America where they were on sale as well. So they didn't sell. My instinct is, just speculation, that when she said to Netflix, let's go global, that Netflix said, we don't even want to continue going domestic with you. We certainly don't want to go global. Hence this sudden parting of the way.
Well, it's also the anniversary of With Love Meghan coming out, so this might have been a contractual parting of ways, because it's around this time last year that we were getting a new podcast, a new TV show, and they were kicking off her product launch, which was all very messy to begin with. Who releases a show without having tangible products you can purchase right there, ready to go? I mean, they shouldn't have released the show at all until the products were available for sale. All of it was messy. But there's this great article in Page Six where Eric Schiffer, who's the chairman of Reputational Management Consultants, said that this was the kiss of death, this parting of ways when it comes to the brand, that, you know, he called it celebrity brand suicide in a cashmere apron. And he said that Hollywood buyers should question whether Meghan has a real audience. In network land, he said repeated breakdowns leave a repulsive scent. She now carries the scent of high maintenance disappointment, and that is rat poison when executives are already gun shy. And he didn't say that it will necessarily close all doors for Meghan in the future, but he said it definitely hurts her leverage. And I love this quote. He said, if I were advising them, I'd amputate the empire fantasy and build one excellent repeat purchase business that doesn't need royal smoke machines. He said they have to get they have to get the out of touch celebrity elitism bubble and make something people want more than they want to mock. But Meghan is obsessed with keeping up with the Joneses. She's obsessed with being compared to Gwyneth Paltrow. She wants you to know she's friends with Oprah. And that's not her audience. That is not realistically somebody that's a fan of Meghan Markle.
And also Ted Sarandos, the chief executive of Netflix, obviously a brilliant man, but you know, I was able to help him out through the months that you and I have been discussing this. I think he was mesmerized by the fact that that Meghan Markle on social media, YouTube, can generate huge numbers. I mean, there's no doubt people are fascinated with her. And millions of people tune in to watch her Instagram posts, to watch stuff about her on YouTube. You know, she is a figure of great interest around the world. Ted Sarandos believing that surely that can be converted into money. The problem is, she is not popular on a global scale. She is unpopular on a global scale. So name recognition, if that name is unpopular, does not add up to income. It does not generate income. And I think that's what Netflix have found out, that for all the millions of people who tune in to watch every single word on this woman, they wouldn't go out and buy a product based on her name in a month of Sundays. Ted Sarandos and Netflix finding that out painfully over the years.
Yeah, very expensive lesson that influence is not the same as infamy. The people that watch content around Meghan Markle it's a morbid curiosity. They're watching the train wreck. They don't understand why she's making such poor decisions, why she's been given this platform. And on International Women's Day, like the Princess of Wales, instead of showcasing some of the women she met in Jordan that, you know, Rupert Bell just said this to me. He was like, she was just in Jordan. She didn't meet any impressive women in Jordan. The Princess of Wales posts all of these women she wants to highlight through her philanthropy. And there's Meghan Markle posting another picture of her and Lily. You know, it's all me, me, me. There's no substance. And people are just fascinated by her poor decisions and how self-obsessed she is. She, you know, her complete lack of, you know, awareness of what's going on. The illusion. It's fascinating.
And a lack of self-awareness. I mean, I think that she thinks she's a much-loved character around the world. She is not, and that's why I suspect As Ever isn't making any money, because it's a celebrity brand. If you're a popular celebrity and you put out a bottle of rosé, you'll find you make a lot of money. Ask Kylie Minogue, ask Dolly Parton and Brad Pitt. They've all made lots of money out of wine, celebrity branded wine. She hasn't made a penny. It's because people don't particularly like her. So that isn't working out. And then we hear, Kenzie, that after their bizarre pretend royal tours to Nigeria, Colombia, And just recently, a couple of weeks ago, thank God, just before the war broke out in the Middle East, the gruesome
You say thank God. You say thank God.
Well,
some of us go, oh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, it would have been. But look, thank God they got out in time. They went to Jordan irresponsibly, unaware of what the hell was going on in that region. They got out just in time. 2-day tour of Jordan, pretend royal tour. Now they're going on another one, a pretend royal tour of Australia. What can be done to dissuade this bizarre couple from these weird pretend royal tours? No one wants them to do them. Why do they do them? They're just pretending to be the king and the queen or something. It's very odd.
And this is another great example of their delusion. You know, their previous Australian tour took place in 2018. This was about 18 months before they quit their jobs as working members of the British royal family. And they generated enormous public interest, significant media attention, to the point where Tom Bauer writes that Meghan Markle goes home and says to Harry, I'm the second coming of Diana. Look at me. I'm Diana 2.0. And this is when they feel like they have the leverage to start trying to negotiate with the British royal family after this Australia tour. And they start saying, we're not going to be in William and Princess Catherine's shadows. And the royal family goes, check yourself before you wreck yourself. But the problem is, they haven't nurtured this relationship with Australia. We haven't seen them engage with Australia very much since then. And their popularity has taken a huge, huge decline. If you look at some of the polling over there, they're at the bottom next to old Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew, sex predator, allegedly. So I don't think that they realize that they're likely not to get the reception that they want when they go over to Australia. Meghan Markle is expected to do a podcast when she's over there as a guest. She's expected to do some female pop-up event, something Gwyneth Paltrow had done. I think it's called Besties. It looks primarily commercial, and they make no secret of it. They talk about, their spokesperson has said they've got a lot of private events that they want to do over there. But yes, because they've got to have that extension of the British royal family, we will see some philanthropy because they're desperate to look like working royals. But I don't believe they're going to be received as well as they expect to be received in Australia.
I mean, they'll be received by most of us with complete confusion. What are you doing? What are you doing? What is the point of this? Just oh look, we're going to visit somewhere. Why? Who are you? You know, just
Meghan's astrologer lives over there, so Meghan, every once in a while you got to check in with your stargazer.
Well, I look forward to that. I wonder what the stargazer will tell her. You're screwed. Now, lastly, you and I discussed last Thursday when you were last on the show, Kinsey, that Sarah Ferguson, would definitely cash in because she's being offered a lot of money from various publishers to write her tell-all book, and it's her only remaining source of income. No one else is going to fund her anymore because she emerges from the Epstein files.
No, but this is...
Yeah, but I'm just going to say
Kevin, she's missing a huge opportunity. Sell pictures of your feet online, Sarah Ferguson.
Yeah.
We already associate you with feet.
It's the toes they're all talking about. Yeah, well, yeah, she could sell pictures of her toes. Apparently, they're very attractive to some people. But the story going around at the weekend that she's faced mass rejection from publishers, old Fergie, these publishers are reticent to help her cash in on her nefarious role in the Epstein files. If I know the publishing business, I'm pretty doubtful about that. I think she'll find a publisher, and I don't think this book, Fergie, My Story, is long off being published.
Amen. Yeah, all you need is an American publisher, because you know as well as I do, America loves a good comeback story. We love turning villains into heroes. Look at the Clintons.
Good luck with Fergie.
The Clintons have made $20 million combined writing their books about their lives. And how many times have you heard them in depositions say, I don't remember? You don't remember. You've written 2 books. So clearly...
Well, don't you remember this?
Yeah.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And now he's going, I did not have sexual relations with Jeffrey Epstein's woman. Yeah, we didn't believe you the first time, Bill, and we certainly don't believe you the second time. It's a joke, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a joke. But I would listen to you read a phone book in that voice.
Yeah, my Bill Clinton. Well, Kenzie Schofield, I want to thank you for coming on to the show. Now you're going to die on me, aren't you? Now, let's talk about Nadiya Hussain. We did this story last week. She is the Bake Off winner who went on to be given a slew of TV shows by the BBC. And she sort of disappeared from our screens at some point last year, and has now completely disappeared. And she says that she was dropped. She's playing the race card, or the Islamophobia card, if you like. She says she was dropped, A, because she's a woman, and B, because she's an Islamic woman of colour. But we hear from the BBC that the reason she was dropped, poor old Nadiya, was that she was a bit of a boring presenter, and that her recipes were dreary, and her programmes weren't bringing in very good ratings. In other words, the traditional reasons that TV presenters get dropped. If you don't do the business, you don't get employed. It's as simple as that. So she went on about this last week. She's doubled down again and said it's because I was a woman, it's because I'm a Muslim, you know, and so on and so forth. Well, when is she going to get real? It's not because of that. Let's talk to documentary maker Malcolm Clark. Yeah, Malcolm. Congratulations to Nadiya for winning Bake Off. She now says she can't even bear to listen to the theme tune because it brings back nasty memories of the pressure in the tent while she was baking cakes. So it doesn't bear thinking about, does it? She got a load of programmes on the back of that victory, and frankly, after what is it now, it's quite a long time since she won, several years since she won, her programmes haven't worked, and we hear from inside tracks that her recipes were considered to be dreary. She wasn't a particularly engaging presenter, and worst of all, the holy grail in the TV industry, the ratings weren't very good. That's why she got dropped. She keeps giving interviews saying it's because she's a Muslim and because she's a woman. Now, I would criticise the BBC for a lot of things, but to call the BBC Islamophobic and indeed sexist, I think, is a bit rich. She got dropped for the traditional reasons, didn't she? That she just wasn't very good.
I presume so. I mean, I'm not party to inside information, but as far as we can see over the last 3 or 4 years, it takes quite a lot for a good presenter to get fired in the BBC. I mean, Greg Wallace has to allegedly wander around in his underwear and to make passes, allegedly, at women in the team and to make really terrible jokes before finally the BBC decided, okay, we'll get rid of him. If you're a really good, I mean, it's an open secret within television. If you've got a brilliant TV presenter like Jamie Oliver or whatever, I mean, Jamie started out as a young naked chef who was a bit of sort of sex appeal for women. That was 25 years ago. He has stayed in the top rank because he's brilliant at what he does. And so aging isn't an obstacle. Bad behavior wasn't an obstacle for Greg Wallace until it finally got too much. But the one thing that BBC or anybody will not defend you for is if you've got boring. And the terrible thing is that in the last 2 sort of interventions by Nadiya, all she's done is prove that if we're sick and tired of hearing from her, just listening to her pieces in various articles and interviews, imagine what it would have been like to work with this woman. She would have been a nightmare. And that's some of the rumours that have filtered out, is that it's the other...
She was difficult to work with. That is a narrative that is emerging from this saga, yes.
I mean, the other thing that happens to any TV presenter, and again, it's an open joke within television, that somebody starts... They've got their first job and they're really keen and they're really hungry and they want to please everyone and they say thank you to the runners. 2 years later, their ego has landed and they're a nightmare to deal with. So that's normal.
I've seen that a lot of times, Malcolm.
Trust me, I've worked with them. And eventually, but if they're really good, People put up with it. They find the good people to work with them and cope with their ego. I mean, look what happened with Jeremy Clarkson. I mean, the BBC gave him again and again, gave him latitude. Eventually, he had to punch a producer in the face, or eventually they said, okay, that's too much. If you're really good at your job, good or bad, the thing is that the BBC or any TV company will allow you a huge amount of latitude.
Yeah. Absolutely. She says that that she needed it to be less about what she was wearing, the props and the colour of my lipstick. Well, it's a visual medium, and if the director says, look, that jacket doesn't really go very well with that shirt, and we need you, I mean, that is nothing to do with her being a woman. And she goes on to say, unfortunately, as a woman and a woman of colour, if you speak up, often it's considered being difficult, being a nuisance. Whereas I know from experience that if I was a man, they'd be like, oh, you know what he's like. That's just not, I know the television industry, that's not true. That isn't true.
It's ignoring the really big fact that for the last 10, 12 years, the BBC has had very strict quotas to ensure that brown skin, black skin, women, various religions, all the rest of it, they're all represented in this DEI sort of Marvel universe of the British population. And so she gets extra points for being all the things that she's moaning about. I'm not saying that she was a DEI hire. She was quite a good presenter at the beginning, but they're not the reasons why the BBC would be prejudiced against her.
I think she was she won Bake Off. And she did become a kind of DEI hire. Now, I'm not saying that in the sort of strictest sense of DEI hires, but there is this popular Bake Off winner. She happens to be a Muslim woman of colour for the BBC. That's manna from heaven. Here, have 10 series. The trouble is she got that opportunity and she blew it. Apparently, the BBC felt, or viewers felt, her recipes were very dreary. Do you remember that cake she baked for the Queen? It was a right old mess. I could have done better than that. And she was boring and she didn't bring the numbers in. That's the main crime. She didn't bring the ratings in. So she's playing the race card. It's an old television truth. If you don't get the numbers, you don't get to stay.
Things have changed. I mean, remember one of the great shows that a friend of mine, Pat Llewellyn, cast for, and it was called Two Fat Ladies.
Ah, yeah, I remember.
You didn't get the two fat ladies complaining that they only got the job because they were fat, because they didn't, because they were really talented and they didn't care about the title. If Nadiya was really talented, she could be presenting a series called One Hijabbed Muslim Woman, and it wouldn't matter. As long as she's good.
Yeah, you're right. She's got to stop doing this. She's trying to quantify why she's lost her gig.
Herself deeper.
And it's not, she is. It's not because she's a Muslim woman. It's because she wasn't very good. It's as simple as that. Well, you've seen the extraordinary revelations concerning the communications and the thought processes involved in the lead up to the Prime Minister's frankly ludicrous decision to appoint Peter Mandelson as the ambassador to Washington, the most important diplomatic role that this nation has. I mean, the details are just shocking, and bearing in mind that a lot of it has been redacted and censored because of the police investigation, and yet still we find out that Starmer was warned of the reputational risk over Mandelson's links to Epstein, that he was told about his relationship with Epstein extending till at least 2011. A top security aide felt that the appointment process was rushed, weirdly rushed, he said. Mandelson asked for £550,000 as a payoff for being sacked in disgrace. And the PM has taken full responsibility for the appointment. Well, that's all very well, but why on earth, in the face of all this advice, security, intelligence officials, telling the Prime Minister, this guy's dodgy. Even Jonathan Powell, his old colleague from New Labour, big buddy of Tony Blair, saying to Starmer, be careful with Mandelson. And yet, not only did Starmer go ahead and give him this very important job, he did it in a manner that was described by one security official as weirdly rushed. What the hell was going on, Giles?
I mean, look, you cannot defend the indefensible. There's nothing ambiguous about what's been released. It's all there in black and white. The risks were clear. They were flagged to Starmer on multiple occasions. And I just wonder if this is going to be the tipping point for him, which actually does trigger his downfall in a very different way that Chris Pincher triggered Boris Johnson's downfall. Because, you know, all these assurances we've been told about how Starmer said he was misled. You were told that the relationship with Epstein carried on after he was convicted. It carried on whilst he was in prison, that Mandelson stayed at his home. I mean, in what world does he think it was sensible to appoint him with multiple people around him saying, yeah, this is not right? And I think this is what you see again and again with Starmer, is this acute lack of political judgment, but also a complete lack of curiosity at all points, not to ask the questions and to defer to others. And it seems like on this occasion, he was deferring to Morgan McSweeney, who says, I'm happy with the assurances that I've been given, as was Matthew Doyle, the former communications director. But like you say, yeah, it is, it's almost beyond words.
It really is, Giles. I mean, Starmer was even warned that if you go ahead and you give this scandal-prone loser, Mandelson, the job, a man who's never done anything wrong without being caught. I mean, every time I keep hearing he's a genius. Well, clever people don't get caught. Mandelson gets caught every time. You know, there was the loan from Jeffrey Robinson, the Notting Hill Gate scandal, where he bought a house with money from a party pal without declaring it. There was the Hinduja passport horror, where he tried to organise dodgy passports for 2 Indian tycoons, and so on and so forth. I mean, every time he does everything, he gets caught. So he came to this position having been mired in scandal at least 3 times. And Starmer was even warned that if you go ahead with this, you could be at risk of a backlash. Well, boy, oh boy, is he getting that backlash now. So given all that I've just said, and the actual extraordinary fact that the Prime Minister said, well, you do this, get set for the backlash. I mean, what was going on in his head? Why was he so determined to give this obvious wrong-un, this obvious appalling candidate for this very important job of ambassador to Washington? Why was he so determined to give it to this man?
I mean, look, you're asking me to explain the indefensible there. I mean, I think certainly the thinking of the Labour Party was they needed a political appointee, but Mandelson wasn't the only option. They could have gone for David Miliband, someone who'd been Foreign Secretary before, someone who is who leads a big charity in America, someone who comes with a lot less political baggage. You know, and for someone he tries to make out, says he's made his career on being the former Director of Public Prosecutions, how he's got a forensic mind. As I said, like the least curious DPP in history, he wasn't asking subsequent and additional questions. I don't know how now his defence that he was misled can stand, because, as you say, all the warnings were there in black and white. There wasn't anything ambiguous about what was put in front of him at all. As I said, I just wonder if this may be the tipping point. I think the only thing which is going to mean that it isn't is, A, you know, we've got an incredibly busy and crowded news agenda, and is there an obvious anointed successor waiting in the wings? I mean, there are a number of people, but there's not one standout person, I think, at the moment who would easily win.
Yeah, and the suggestion all along, and I put a lot of credence by it, is that it was Tony Blair whispering into Starmer's ear to say, give my old mate Mandelson the job. You know, he's a good mover and shaker. He knows how to, you know, press the right flesh. He gets things done. Yeah, we know how he gets things done. He gets things done very, very dodgily.
Isn't it that... Go on, sorry.
No, you carry on, sorry.
Well, it's interesting that, you know, Tony Blair's been very quiet throughout this whole episode, and obviously we've seen in these files released today that, I mean, it's not clear whether he did meet Epstein, but certainly we see that Mandelson suggested that he did. And so really, yeah, want to hear from Blair. Did he actually ever meet Mandelson? Meet Epstein at all? But yeah.
You know what annoys me about it, Charles, is this. So when Tony Blair has got terrible advice, why don't you give the ambassadorship to Washington to my old mate Mandy, to Peter Mandelson? When he gives Keir Starmer that advice, you could call it probably an instruction, from the ghosts of Labour past. I mean, Blair still pulls a lot of strings in the Labour Party. In that instance, Keir Starmer goes, oh, no, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, OK, Tony, yeah, great. When Tony Blair says, for Christ's sake, let Donald Trump use our runways to launch strikes on Iran, that's good advice, and Keir Starmer turns that down. I mean, Keir Starmer, does he ever do anything right?
I think what you've seen, as I said, an acute lack of political judgment. I think this is what happens when you don't stand for anything. We knew all along in opposition what he was against, but we didn't know what he was for. And, his rise to power is much more about a Tory collapse rather than a Labour revival, unlike Blair's, sort of surge to power in 1997 when he came in on a huge wave of popularity. That wasn't the same as Starmer. I think this is what happens. Like, things quickly unravel for you when you haven't got a story to tell when you don't stand for anything. And, you've seen this with all the numerous political U-turns he's done, but also the fact he cycles through staff at breakneck speed. And all that suggests to you is a complete lack of judgment, but also a lack of faith in your own judgment.
Prince Harry, so far they've done Colombia, Nigeria. About a month ago they went to Jordan, just missing the war, so that was a relief. Nobody knows why they do this. I think it's because they can't work out what else to do. But they're off to Australia soon to pretend to be the king and queen or something when they go there. During this trip, Meghan Markle will be the main attraction at a weird £1,400 a head girls' weekend. A 3-day luxury retreat in Sydney from April the 17th to the 19th, whereby the people who attend this will get to meet Meghan, pose for selfies, that kind of thing. Guests will indulge in morning yoga classes, sound healing, a manifestation session. What the hell is that? What's going on, Samara?
Meghan is trading trash for cash at this point. I mean, seriously, she is. I don't think people understand, and I don't think Meghan understands, that Jackie O, who she's doing this retreat with, is kind of like the equivalent to a Gemma Collins or a Katie Price for Australia. That is who that, like, we call it, she's bogan. That's what we call them.
Jackie O.
Jackie O.
She's not steeped in history. They're not big on, the Kennedys or anything like that. Hey, Jackie O, if you're watching, that name's been taken by Jackie Onassis. But anyway.
No, you're right. It's a good sort of insight into this woman's intellect. I mean, this is someone who, it's really interesting because Meghan claims to be an ultra-feminist, and this workshop seems to be a retreat where, people will get to also talk to psychologists, they'll get to do the sound healing, as you said, the dinner and disco. I wonder if Meghan will attend. But I just want to tell you about Jackie O.
Yeah, please do.
She's got a shambolic record when it comes to supporting women, and people in Australia know that. So again, this is a massive misstep by Meghan and her so-called team, not doing any basic research. I mean, there was a very famous case. They're like radio shock jocks. You wouldn't know about what a radio shock jock is.
Yeah, I do. I have heard of Australia. I know what goes on there.
There's a very famous case where she questioned a teen rape victim on air, and nice. It was extremely controversial, where she kind of dug into this teenager's sexual history. It was horrible. She's been complicit in calling ugly women dogs in many segments. Her and her team presided over the intern urine guessing stunt, whereby they used to get interns at the radio station to record themselves urinating.
Oh, that's
and then
nice.
They get hosts to basically...
Well, we should try that on this show.
Exactly.
Do you fancy that, everyone? Let me know. 03444991000. Should we have some urine sounding sessions, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. They basically got hosts to attempt to guess whose recording it was, and then they've got, they massively would always intrude on the sex lives of guests and female celebrities, and she's known to be a slut shamer. So it's comical to me that Meghan would choose to do a trip with this woman to Australia.
And so the Her Best Life podcast that Meghan will be interviewed on, and it's part and parcel of this weekend. This is Gemma O'Neill is Jackie O'Neill's sister, or
like her business partner / co-host.
Okay, co-host.
I mean, this podcast that Jackie O hosts is basically a reputation rehab because her reputation is so shambolic and terrible over in Australia. So,
and only women are allowed to this, and as I say, it's going to be it will unfold at the 5-star luxury Intercontinental Hotel, Sydney Coogee Beach, on the waterfront of the eastern suburbs there. Guests will be put up in twin rooms, 2 breakfasts, a lunch and 2 dinners, and the star attraction at the first evening will be a dinner and disco celebration with Meghan. But I mean, my point about this, we can laugh about this, are there no depths below which Meghan Markle will not sink? But, she is the daughter-in-law of King Charles, of our sovereign. She is married to King Charles's son, Prince Harry. And this tawdry event heaps embarrassment, yet more embarrassment, on our royal family, doesn't it?
It's a really good point, Kev. And, we all know the Queen's dying wish was to not have them do this pseudo-royal, sycophantic sort of lifestyle where they have 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the royal family, and they basically treat it like it's some sideshow gig that they can choose to opt in and opt out of. I do want to... People are forgetting this really good quote from this Valentine Lowe book. It's one of his recent books where he said, according to a source, after she came back from Australia, because that first trip, which was now 7 or 8 years ago, where they announced that, Meghan was pregnant with Archie. It was a very big trip. I remember I was there living in Australia at the time, and there was Meghan mania. People were, she was still on the up and up. There were crowds everywhere she would go. It was very popular. She actually reportedly said to staff, "I can't believe I'm not getting paid for this," while she was on her royal tour. And I feel like this is such a full circle moment for Meghan, where she's realising the full potential of the quote-unquote gravitas she can bring and the money she can make.
The London grooming gang scandal, of course, for a long, long time, we have that little pipsqueak mayor, what's his name? Oh, God. Sadiq Khan, who laughably refers to himself now as Sir Sadiq Khan. Sir.
I mean, he's another lying little snake, isn't
he? Agreed. Now,
just like Starmer, they are all so corrupt. They all lie.
Well, he lied because he kept, or it certainly, he was economical with the truth, because he kept pretending that although the rape gang scandal was indeed unfolding all over the country, don't forget, this went on for years. That carries on to this day, and it's happening in London as we speak. But there are 250,000 victims estimated of these awful rape gangs around the country, who are mostly made up of Muslim men of Pakistani origin, torturing, drugging, giving alcohol to, raping, sexually assaulting mostly vulnerable young white girls, many of them underage. Now, the Mayor of London said, well, yeah, it's happening all over the country, but not in London. Well, of course it was, and it still is. And the lethargy being shown in the capital city has caused alarm among Conservative MPs and London Assembly members, who are demanding urgent action from the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood and the Mayor of London Sadiq Khan on the escalating grooming gang problem in London. It's just going on at the moment, Marilyn, and nothing is being done, thanks largely, I would suggest, to the Mayor, who tried so long to act as if it wasn't happening. Absolute disgrace.
Well, he's economic with the truth. He's economic with his eyesight. He's economic with everything, isn't he? He's a nasty, slimy little snake. I'm sorry, I can't stand the man. And I'm sorry, he's also Muslim.
Don't hold back. Say what you think, Marilyn.
I'm not going to hold back.
I can tell that.
Kev, how long have you known me? Come on. You know full well I'm going to blast it. This man needs his ass kicked, out of government, out of the country. He's an utter disgrace. He is complicit with these children, underage kids being raped and trafficked. Why would he think it wasn't in London? Because he's seen it, he knows it, so therefore he's complicit in it, so therefore he's third party to it, so therefore he needs to be charged. He is not fit to be mayor. He's a friend of Starmer, who's not fit to be prime minister. They are an absolute bunch of shysters. And if you, I mean, I have known for years, in your right mind, grooming gangs traffic. Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. Oh, let me think. How many main train line stations are in London? Oh, there's the thing. How many tube stations are there? Oh, let me think. So trafficking means putting kids on a train, on a bus, in a car. It's absolutely dead easy to traffic them around the country from London. The mayor knew this. He's not fit for purpose. Honestly, I could really... If
only you, Marilyn, could force my producer Jodie to just whisper in my ear, you must state that we do not condone Sadiq Khan getting his arse kicked. That's actually, I was trying to be serious there. No, look, this is a very serious topic. Now, I'm annoyed. But the lethargy, I can tell that. The lethargy being shown in London by Sadiq Khan and his henchmen is also reflected in the lethargy about the national public inquiry into the rape gang scandal that the Prime Minister Keir Starmer was dragged kicking and screaming into announcing back in last June. I think it was about June the 5th. When is it going to happen?
He will try ever so hard not to, and I say thank you, Rupert Lowe, for raising 600 grand, and the bit that he's done has absolutely shown the horror of this. There was something I saw the other day about, I know that the youngsters in Wales who are now adults are really worried that they won't be part of this if it ever goes forward, this inquiry. There was one girl who was trafficked from Wales to Telford and Liverpool, and she was raped by 1,000 men over that time. How can you call these girls survivors? How can they possibly survive? They may be alive, but what's that done to their lives? As in all the people that have been trafficked and groomed and abused around London. I mean, I'm not being funny. How many takeouts are there? How many Pakistani Muslim men run corner shops? How many, and it's not just youngsters that have been in care homes, believe me, it's also middle-class children. I remember when Anne Longfield was Children's Commissioner, she agreed with me that she believed in every single secondary school there was someone involved in some form of county line gangs, because it starts with the age group of the person who is the hook.
I believe, Marilyn, that the police are investigating now thousands of suspected crimes, grooming gang crimes in the capital. But to go back to this national public inquiry, I'm always sceptical about public inquiries. I think they're a way of kicking the can down the road. They cost a lot of money, and they don't often achieve much. But I do feel that the public, the people of Britain, the citizens of this country deserve an inquiry, and of course all the victims of grooming gangs. But I'm just reading here, the national. So this was announced last June. Yes. Reluctantly, the Prime Minister said, all right, then we'll have a public inquiry. They didn't want it, Labour, mainly because a lot of the rape gang horrors have unfolded in Labour constituencies, Labour cities, Labour boroughs.
Muslim mayors.
Yeah, check this out, though. The National Inquiry's final terms of reference are expected to be published by the 31st of March. Take your time. Please take your time, won't you? So that's the terms of reference. When will the damn thing start?
Well, the thing is, I mean, I'm sorry, but the way he's going on with immigration and all of that, Starmer, and I'm not being racist, because my daughter worked in Dubai for 7 years. I have a lot of Muslim friends who are incredibly lovely people. They're not all like some of these that are running these gangs. Of course they're not. But you can't get away. There are certain factions that are. And I don't think he wants it to start, because also, haven't I seen that they're going to dumb it down a bit? Like, certain
we don't know. We don't know, because we get the terms of the reference by the end of the month.
Yeah, you wait when it comes out.
Yeah, well, exactly. But here's the point. Of course, Starmer doesn't want it because it will be very embarrassing for Labour. And there's a lot of speculation that they're trying to kick the can down the road all the way until 2029, so they don't have to be humiliated by what emerges from this inquiry. But
everybody knows what's been going on, Kevin. Everybody knows what he's trying to do is silence it. He wants to keep anybody that is a Labour Muslim council, where a lot of this has gone on with people that are Muslims and Bangladeshis that have principally created this problem. He wants their votes, and that's what it's all about. He wants their votes. He doesn't want to hack them off. That's my feeling on it. It's only my opinion. But if you're going to have an inquiry, it's got to name and shame and charge or put everybody, arrest and put that in a court where they are answerable for cover-ups and ignoring stuff that was written.
I agree with you. About 2,000 child exploitation cases are reported to the Metropolitan Police here in London every year. I should, for fairness and balance, say that a spokesman for Sadiq Khan said, "The Mayor is clear that the Met Police must follow the evidence wherever it leads, and he will continue to ensure it does everything possible to tackle all child sexual exploitations in the capital, including grooming gangs, to build a safer London for everyone." I have to give the last word to Sadiq there, Marilyn. Really good.
Well, I don't believe a word of it.
I know you don't, but I've got to go. Good to talk to you, Marilyn, as always.